From there, you and I were going through a very difficult time.
Yeah.
And we decided...
I was done with your ass.
Yeah, you kicked me to the curb.
I was done with you.
Right.
What was the real situation with Jada Pinkett Smith?
I've literally never been in love in that kind of a way. It almost killed me.
Yeah.
Marriages have that, though. Marriages have that.
Yeah, we broke up.
We decided that we were going to separate for a period of time, and you go figure out how to make yourself happy, and I'll figure out how to make myself happy.
Well, at that particular point in time, it was indefinite.
Yeah, I really felt like we could be over.
We were over.
And then what did you do, Jada?
Well, I think from there, as time went on, I got into a different kind of entanglement. With August. One thing I want to get clear about and clean up, one of the things that was kind of swirling in the press about you giving permission, which is, the only person that can give permission in that particular circumstance is myself.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But what August was probably trying to communicate, because I could actually see how he would perceive it as permission, because we were separated amicably. And I think he also wanted to make it clear that he's not a homewrecker, which he's not.
I think so. I mean, because this is your red table and you brought yourself to the red table. I think you need to say clearly what happened.
As far as what?
You and I decided we were going to take our space, and what happened.
Yeah, and then I got into an entanglement with...
It's a relationship,
August. That's
girl.
what I said.
An entanglement?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
A relationship.
Yes. It was a relationship, absolutely. I was in a lot of pain, and I was very broken. Now, in the process of that relationship, I definitely realized that you can't find happiness outside of yourself. And luckily enough, you and I were also going through a process of healing in a much different manner. I would definitely say we did everything that we could to get away from each other, only to realize that wasn't possible.
Lord, here we go with the Smiths. Welcome to SouFLoTV again, everybody. It is your host with the most. People, it is safe to say that Jada just confirmed that she did have a relationship with August. Although the part about Will Smith giving August permission, or his blessings, as August put it, to tap that ass off his wife, it's not so. Okay? Now, let me first say this. Did y'all notice, I don't know if you watched it, but from this little clip, did you notice that when she said, we were over, Will said, yeah, that time I definitely thought that, we were looking like, we could actually reach the end. And she was like, oh no, it wasn't no looking like, we were over. So that tells me right there that in her mind, the relationship was over. But in Will's mind, it was, you're still my wife. Let's go our separate ways for a minute. Let's see how we can make ourselves happy and then make our way back to each other. So in Will's mind, there was never any over. But in Jada's mind, there was a over. She clearly said it. And then she went. So there's confusion there in that relationship alone itself. I don't know if that's what she's putting out on TV just to justify that she actually did have a full-blown relationship with August. But at this point, it seemed like Will knew. Okay, now at what point did he find out? We don't know. This whole round red table talk thing, it could be just to save face. And I must give them credit because they did so professionally. This was what you call a professional cleanup job. They spent an entire week and a half with their PR teams and they put this together really well before they presented it to us. Now, if August had came out and said all that he said, and then within that same 24 hours, we had a round table where Jada and Will were sitting at the table, airing it all out, I would have believed that to be more true than what it is. End of the day, they're two grown people, man, and they decided that this is what's going to work for them. Now that I've heard their side of the story, I can speculate, but I have to go by what they said. Okay, so for the people who were about to kill August, saying that he's looking for clout, his music ain't doing so good, he's trying to sell records, he's a home wrecker, all this other stuff, you're probably going to have to give that young man an apology right now, okay? Because it seems like about 90% of what he said was actually really true. The other 10%, though, seems to be not necessarily a lie, but more like a misinterpretation. So, in other words, Jada and Will went through their troubles, found their way back to each other. I mean, they have a lot of history together, and they've built a lot of wealth together as that A-list Hollywood couple outside of being black, right? And then that figurehead as far as what black power looks like in a couple in Hollywood or corporate America, that's them. They did that. So I'm sure they were trying to find ways to clean up that image real quick. Honestly, I don't know. August was in a bad place when they first met. And we got to take all these things into consideration. Like, he was on drugs. Admittedly, this is no rumor. He said it. He was on drugs and he was on them pills bad. You understand? He was going through a depression. He had lost his sister, who he was so close to. He was just having so many things wrong with him. He was falling apart. And I don't know if you remember, when he first came on the scene, he was one of those artists that was the next big thing. But he disappeared so fast. Everybody was like, well, where the hell did he go? He was only here for a short minute. And within that short minute, he drummed up a whole lot of fame, touring with big names in the industry and all that. And on top of that, trying to deal with real life. So he was under a lot of pressure, and he became friends with his friend's mother. That's what this is. This is Jaden Smith's friend, the son of Will and Jada. Jaden Smith's friend. That's who August Alsina is. And that's how he actually met the mom, which is Jada. Right? So she bedded her son's friend at a time when, in her mind, her and her husband were only legal on paper, because in her mind, that relationship was over with. She was already saying that she was going to file a divorce, and she was heading to the divorce courts. In her mind, it was done. But I don't think in Will's mind it was ever over. And of course, they worked out their differences and they got back together as a couple. This is where I think August Alsina got hurt. Because in his mind, hey, it's going to work out. She left Will, me and her. It's going to be me and her. And I'm pouring my heart and my soul into this relationship, not knowing that she never really left Will. And because she never really left him, and I'm talking about like spiritually, she never really left Will. And because she never really left him, she went right back to him. Could be the case. Or, if we should think outside the box, could this be just a case of she used him? She was going through her midlife crisis. Will was going through his midlife crisis. She used this younger man to rejuvenate herself then. And she also found somebody that was going through hurt and struggle and pain at the same time that she was. And they connected on that level. And it lasted for years. Now, after all those years, Will might have came around and said, look, Jada, we put too much into this to let it go. I miss you. I love you. I'll do whatever I have to do to make it work. And she said, you know what? You're right. You're right. We got too much riding on this. We put too much into this. So let's make it work. And then when she said, let's make it work with Will, August got kicked to the curb. And he just couldn't understand it, because all along he was wishing inside of his mind, and he probably was even told by Jada. I could imagine them doing their thing in the bedroom and he's just waiting for her to be all his. And I could imagine Will not even living at the house, so he had free reign as if it was his house, right? Now, at the end of the day, he got his feelings hurt because she went back to Will, patched up her marriage, and left August out in the cold. August's misinterpretation of it was, I think, well, when Will finally found out, he probably came in the house and said, "Hold up, are you having sexual relations with August, with Jaden's friend August?" And it was at that point where it was like, "Listen, I'm moving out. I'm gonna go my separate way. Let's try to find a way to, fix all this, whatever." I think that is when Will actually found out. Now, I think Will probably did sit down and have a conversation with August, and he probably said something along the lines of, "Hey, man, she's grown. If that's what she wants for herself, that is what she wants for herself. I'll give y'all my blessing. I'm not trying to interrupt. I just want to see people happy. You and her and whatever. I just want to see people happy. I'll go try to make myself happy." He took it as something else, like giving them a blessing as far as, I don't know. Very confusing. Very confusing. But go watch the rest of the video, and it's on Facebook. Watch it on Facebook, her Red Table, and tell me what you think about that whole relationship and everything. I know there are a lot of people that are going to say nobody cares. It's rich people and they do that stuff all the time. And she probably just used more. People are going to say no one cares. Next story. But people are very, very interested in this relationship and the dynamics. And I'm going to say this again. All the people who are tearing August down, saying he's lying, trying to sell records, looking for more publicity and fame and all that, they owe that man an apology. My biggest concern at this point, though, is his mental state, because he seems to be very fragile mentally with all that has gone on in his life. And he said out his own mouth that walking away from this relationship was the hardest thing he had ever had to do in his life. Now, when you hear somebody say it's the hardest thing they've ever had to do in their life, and they've come across hard situations like watching his sister die, or standing there staring at her dead body, and they had never been separated in their life, or all the other hardships he went through, having to survive poverty and all this, and he put leaving or walking away from the relationship with Jada the hardest thing he had ever had to do in his life. He actually even said on that interview with Angela Yee that if he was to die right now, he would be happy because he died empty. He gave everything in that relationship. That was deep. That was deep. So he seems extremely fragile. Now, the question that remains is, and I know they're grown people, they can do their thing, whatever they want to do, but the question now is this: how is August going to come around? How are they going to have a relationship as far as August and Will and Jada in the public eye, or do they feel some kind of way salty that he actually let that information out to the public? Because before him saying it, people had only thought about it, but they had never confirmed it, because he had never confirmed it and Jada had never confirmed it. But now that both of them have confirmed it, I'm actually really thinking that this might work out for him as far as boosting his career, because now he's always going to be looked at as the guy that slept with Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. You know how many guys want to top that? Just for who she is. But that's for a whole nother video. Leave your comments in the comments section below. Tell me what you think about this one, man. I'm out. Peace.